What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and it's a good day because today we are actually modding the S1000RR. Finally got parts on this thing, so I've been waiting on exhaust and stuff to come in. Everything's been slow to roll in, but we finally have the parts. We're doing a full exhaust system. This is going to be a Brock's CT megaphone system. It's a full titanium system, and we're doing that along with the Sprint P08 F185 filter, and then we're yanking the ECU out to send that over to Two Wheel Dyno Works. Come on back here, I'll show you guys everything that's laid out right now. I've got the full exhaust system laid out, I've got the instructions laid out, everything that came with it. I'll show you all what came with the exhaust and what it looks like to install it. So over here I have everything laid out. This is the full megaphone system, so it's the CT megaphone. This is full titanium, and that is the muffler that comes with it. So it is got a little carbon fiber end cap, very nice. Very nice looking exhaust. So this is titanium, the pipes are titanium on it. This is all the hardware it comes with, and everything's really well packaged. That is to pull your springs. So I've got a lot of those, but that's actually probably one of the nicer ones I've got. Full instructions. So this is one of the things I really love about Brock's, is they're giving you full color instructions, and they are very detailed and very nice with pictures and everything. So very easy to follow along. Some of the exhaust companies don't do that. Some of them have less than desirable instructions, but we're going to be installing all of this today. The Sprint filter, this is the F185, so it's the same one that I've got on this H2 over here, which actually I'm going to be ripping that apart here shortly. I just paid for all the parts through Travis. This one's getting an intercooler and stage 3 supercharger gears, so that's going to be coming for you guys. But for now, we're going to be working on this. Now, to be honest with you guys, I haven't done a lot of videos on this S1000 just because of the fact that it's such a dog. I mean, it's slow. It's very restricted. The RPMs are limited to 9,000 on it, so until it gets flashed, like, the content really is not going to be that great. Awesome bike though, phenomenal handling, very light bike. I didn't want to make videos on it until I got an exhaust and a flash and everything on there. So with having said that, let's go ahead and start ripping it apart and get this exhaust off. All right, so first thing the instructions say to do is going to be removing the side fairings, removing the tank side fairings, removing the gas tank, and removing the seat, and you need to do this on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and get one of these off, and then I'll show you guys what I figured out on how to get it off, and hopefully nothing breaks. So first thing you got to do to remove these side fairings is actually take the belly pan off, which this is the left side of the belly pan, and I just took this off, just a couple bolts around it, nothing too hard to do. But on the inside here, if you guys can see that little clip there, that actually clips in to the other side of the belly pan there. Be very careful taking that off because I actually just broke mine. Of course, as soon as I say don't break something, yeah, broke that one right in half. I don't know if you guys can see that crack, but it's a good thing anyways. I'm doing those in carbon fiber here in a little bit anyways, so not that big a deal, just something to point out. But then we're going to go through here and take all this fairing off, which it's just a couple more bolts, you know, go slow, take your time. Couple up in here, nothing too crazy. I'm going to go ahead and yank this off. I'm going to yank the other side off, and then I'll start on the tank stuff. Guys, I'm not even gonna lie, there's nothing scarier than just yanking on your brand new $25,000 motorcycle. But down in here, this is all push-ins, so you just pretty much pull those out of rubber grommets, pull that out of a rubber grommet, and then I think all I really had to do was take that bolt out, and there's a couple that go through here, and then this thing just falls right off, basically. So that's what it looks like with the side fairing off. I'm gonna go ahead and yank the other side fairing, and that'll give us a good bit of room to work. All right, so I've got all the bolts out of it. This is the really scary part here, is pulling it out. And up in here, let's see if I can feel it. Yeah, right right there, there's a rubber grommet there, and the rest of them go up through here, and it kind of tucks back behind that fairing. So yeah, it's a little scary, but I'll go ahead, I'll take one for the team and break stuff. All right, so this last little shroud here, all that's holding it on now at this point is those upper bolts up there. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off and get it out of the way. It's got these little guide pins here. Get that out of the way and we'll get the tank all taken apart on this thing. Going pretty quick though, not bad at all so far. It's very scary, trying to not break stuff, but so far I've only broke one thing. Proud of myself. Okay, so next thing on the bike is removing these plastics around the tank. First thing is taking this one off, which is pretty easy. It's just a couple bolts there. Then the side plastics, bolt there, and two under the seat here. To remove the seat, all you do is take off that one bolt at the back and it comes off. One thing I do want to mention though is definitely use some high quality Torx bits on it. I'm using a set of Blue Point, which is an expensive set, but it's paid for itself so much over. I've used it on pretty much everything, like the build on the H2 there, putting the exhaust on it, but it's so easy to round these out. They're all pretty much using a T25 Torx on it, so cheap Torx bits are pretty much a no-go when you're doing stuff like this. All right, so everything's unbolted down through here, but one thing to note, down in here, that tab there is what prevents this from coming off. All you have to do is take a flathead and push it down and it releases that. Down in here, it looks like if you pull it back a little bit, it slides forward. So this whole assembly should, yep, just like that, the whole thing comes off. Once you have all this apart, basically all you're down to is there's a bolt on each side of the tank and then this bolt that goes through the back of it. Tank should lift up and unplug. We can remove that completely. Side note, here's the ECU for anybody that is wanting to pull it to send it out for a flash, but you can get to it easier than, obviously you don't have to take the side fairings off. This is pretty much what it looks like all naked. Tank's off of it, all the side fairings are off. It's basically an S1000R without a tank on it now. The front end does look super goofy without the lower fairings on it. But next step, he's pretty much got us taking off the exhaust system, so we're gonna take the muffler off next and then disconnect the O2 sensors and remove the X-up valve. So we've got these removed. This is the rear O2 sensors. The front O2s you actually leave in the pipe, and they're really easy to get to. Everything's been pretty easy to get to on this bike, to be honest with you guys. It had us remove the X-up valve motor, which is very easy to do as well. It's held right in there, so there's one bolt right here that holds the actual motor on. This plug right there plugs the motor in, and then the wires just run from there to there. It's like really easy. I mean, that's all it is, where most bikes have it like buried all the way down and all of that. This one's super easy. BMW is like, yeah, we know that you guys are just going to take all this emission stuff off anyway, so let's make it really easy to get to. But next up, we're going to be removing the oil cooler from the radiator, not removing it completely, but unbolting it. There's one bracket there that goes to the bottom of the radiator. We're going to take that off and then drop the whole exhaust system. All right, so next thing to do is going to be removing this bracket. It bolts on here and it goes to the bottom of the radiator there, and it also holds the oil cooler on, which the oil cooler has one bolt on each side that goes into the bottom of the radiator through there. Definitely use some cardboard because I didn't even swing it down yet and I could already see fins starting to bend, so I took some cardboard and taped it up in there. It doesn't say you have to remove the radiator though, so there is a little bit of room in here. We should be able to get to all the bolts through there. And then the rear section is on this hanger here, and I believe that it's just gonna slide that way and the whole system will come off once we drop this down. So we're gonna remove all of those and then the whole system should come out. We've got all of the header bolts off except for the outer guy right here on both sides is all that's holding it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and unbolt this hanger instead of pulling it off the back. It's just gonna make it easier so that the whole thing drops. And again, watch out for your oil cooler. So this is definitely two-man job if possible. Just like that, whole exhaust is off. This thing weighs a lot. I don't think it's as heavy as the H2 system. We're gonna weigh it with our very high-tech Walmart scale. Definitely, like I said, cardboard that guy up because you got to get a little aggressive getting this thing out and past some of these tabs. So cardboard that guy up. Definitely keep an eye on your gaskets, make sure they're still in there, or Brock supplies you with new gaskets. I don't know if I'm going to use them because this bike's only got like literally 250 miles on it. But I'm going to go ahead and yank these two O2 sensors out. All the O2 sensors go back in the new exhaust, and then we're going to start installing it. All right, next up, Brox gives you these little plates that go onto the stock exhaust studs, and you put the factory header bolts back in these, and they're going to use springs to connect the header to those flanges. But it says to hand tighten those because we're not going to torque it until the whole exhaust is on. So I'm going to put these up hand tight and then put one exhaust spring on each one of these. And then it's got us putting the bracket on the rear passenger peg next. Getting the front O2 sensors in the pipe before I put it on. And then the back sensors I'll do once the pipe's actually on because they're still hanging, not unclipped like these are. We've got the header section installed and the Y pipe or the collector installed. We have all of these just finger tight, and I've got one spring. It's the inner spring so you can't see it. I've got one spring on each header pipe so that it still has a little bit of wiggle room. We've got the springs holding the collector, and we've reinstalled the O2 sensors. And Cody's over there trying to route the O2 sensor wire. It's got these little clips that it was using from the factory point, but the factory point, the O2s were like up here, and now they're way back there. So definitely make sure that your wire's not gonna get melted or anything. The other thing that I noticed on this kit, so it has these little adapters for the smaller O2, the downstream O2, and it came with two gaskets, but they're the same size gasket that goes on the O2 up here, and the threads are bigger where this mounts to the actual pipe. So there's no gasket that goes there, and I'm worried about possibly leaking. I don't know if the wrong gaskets were sent with it because these already have gaskets, or if it just doesn't use one, but I'm gonna keep an eye on that and make sure it doesn't leak. So we're gonna go ahead and install the muffler. I put this little bracket on as well that was supplied, and then from there it says to wiggle the whole exhaust, and then I'm gonna put the last springs up there and wipe the whole system down. Whole exhaust is on this thing, everything's tightened down. It says to wiggle the exhaust after you get everything loosely connected, and then put the last springs on after you torque the nuts up there, which are 10 foot-pounds of torque. And then lastly, I tightened down the nut back there. So everything's tight on it. We're gonna go ahead and wipe it down with alcohol before we button all this stuff up so that we can still move this around and get all through here because there's fingerprints all over it. The other thing to note, this thing has a pair valve block off. So you take this out and there's a little plug that goes in there. So this little plug right here, get it to focus on that. That, all you do is take that back. Push it in just like that. I don't know if it's picking it up there, but yeah, see that little plug? All there is to that, and then snap that guy right back on. Boom. After I wipe all that down, I'm gonna bolt the oil cooler back up, and then that's probably as far as I'm gonna go until I get the ECU back. Oh, well, I guess I'll go ahead and install the Sprint filter, but I'm gonna go ahead and shoot the ECU out. I was gonna start it for you guys today, but I'll still start it in this video, but it's gonna be a few days. I'm gonna send the ECU out so I don't have to tear this thing all back down again. We've got like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours worth of work in it at this point, but honestly, it's not too bad. So this bike was not bad at all to take apart. It's just take your time with everything. But ECU right here again, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the air filter in, wipe that down, and get everything buttoned up there by the radiator. All right, so the exhaust is all buttoned up 100% full CT megaphone titanium system, and went ahead and pulled the ECU, which was right here. All you have to do is cut a few zip ties and get all of these unplugged. Not too bad at all. After you do that, your air filter's right here. So we're doing a filter on this. We're doing a Sprint P08 F185. Easy cover to come off. I'm gonna go ahead and yank that. There's your basic filter versus Sprint P08 F185, obviously better airflow. Huge gains to be made with these. I have one in the H2 and does very, very well. Obviously on a boosted application, it's gonna do better. But we're gonna go ahead and install this stuff. I'm gonna ship the ECU out, and then pretty much all it is putting the fairings back on. And I'm gonna get a cold start and let it warm up, get you guys some warm idle and some revs. All right guys, I got the ECU back from Two Wheel Dyno Works, and the full exhaust system is put on the bike. Everything's back together on it. Everything went together pretty easily on there. So this is gonna be the first startup of the exhaust. I'm gonna set the camera back a little bit, just like I did on the stock exhaust, and give you a little bit of a comparison here. So let's go ahead and do the first start. There you guys have it, the entire install of the full Brox CT megaphone system, and it sounds just like the old S1000s, to be honest. It sounds good. No leaks, no issues like that. It is worth noting that I did put a servo buddy in there, so that is going to get rid of the actual X-up motor, so the exhaust valve motor. So that saves some weight, and you can get rid of all that, and no codes will be thrown. So I'm gonna go out and test this out, see how much of a difference it is, because I imagine that this is gonna be a completely different bike now that it has the tune from Two Wheel Dyno Works. Drop a comment down below, let me know what you guys think of the BMW, let me know what mods I need to do next to the bike. The H2 in here, I'll show you guys a little something real quick since you stay till the end of the video. It's a little dirty in here, but I've got the H2 ripped apart, and it is getting full intercooler and a couple other goodies, so that video is coming here shortly. But that bike's going to be really, really, really fast. Oh, and I painted the MT10. But yeah, so stick around for that stuff, guys. As always, thanks for watching till the end. Until next time, guys.